Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever it is in the world you are streaming here on Twitter as well as on YouTube, anywhere that this video may end up. It's our Friday edition of Live Q&A with Wob presented by ProfitX. Hope everyone had a nice week out there in the world. I know it was kind of weird with in and out work, in and out weather. Some days you're supposed to work, some days you're not. Kind of all feels like a vacation. But we're here nonetheless. I had a great day at the Rose Bowl yesterday. Despite the blowout, it was quite a fun time. The game felt a lot closer than the final score because the first at least quarter and a half, even going to halftime, it was close. So ended up being clear, crystal clear for a majority of the game. The tailgate was a little messy and sloppy because of the rain here in Southern California, but we survived, had a good time, and that's that. Got to take a kind of a day off. What's up? OpenAI? First comment I see says, thoughts on OpenAI acquiring Pinterest? That just happened? Did I miss something? I've been on the timeline most of the day. That's probably not great. I'm usually pretty plugged into the tech world. I didn't see that happened. You sure? You sure? Did you get centelled of tech instead of, what's the guy's name? Marcus Brownlee? I probably just butchered that. There's probably a Marquis Brownlee. Yeah, Marcus Brownlee. There's probably the way that there was a Steve Urkel and a Stefan Urkel. There's a different version of him out there in the world. So, Helwick, yes, the Rose Bowl was pretty fantastic. I love stadiums and arenas that refuse to renovate or upgrade and do just enough so that the majesty of tradition is maintained throughout the years. I heard a great analogy yesterday that the Rose Bowl is college football's equivalent of the Masters in that it's barely tainted by corporate sponsorship. And a good example of that is the parade of roses that occurs in the morning before the game. They broadcast it here in LA on like KTLA, or I forgot who covers it now, but there's limited commercial interruption. It's just content. In the Rose Bowl, you walk around that place and it hardly feels like there's any sort of activations, corporate sponsorships. It's just like such an amphitheater for football, and it's simple. Like, could it be optimized so that there's more tunnels to get people through the stadium? And probably, yeah. There's just something unique about long-standing traditional stadiums, which I prefer over like I wish Citi Field, or I wish Shea Stadium was still in existence. 100%. Citi Field is nicer. It has better food, but Shea Stadium was a dump, but it was my dump with the New York Mets. Shea Stadium used to sit on a street called Northern Boulevard that was famous for having auto chop shops for as far as the eye can see. The least aesthetically pleasing stores that you can think of is a chop shop because there's just giant pieces of scrap metal everywhere. It looks like that there's been a zombie apocalypse. That's what the world would look like. Nothing pretty about it. But that added to the grittiness and the blue collar Mets baseball. But now they got Citi Field. Now they're going to plow over all of the chop shops to build a casino. It's all going to be super nice, tailored to rich people, and that's great. But my personal preference is I like tradition. I like things that are status quo and consistent and can tell a story without changing the branding. That's why you hear me bitch about NBA jerseys all the time. And they've completely butchered that in the last 5 years, ever since the City Edition uniforms were unveiled, was a way for them to destroy what many would assume was a branding given when the Celtics, the Bulls, the Knicks, even someone like the Miami Heat, when they took the floor, you knew what colors they were going to wear. They were identifiable, but they made a decision to optimize profits because new jerseys means something that tourists and kids, they want to buy, and new fans don't know the difference. But I feel it dilutes the legacy product when you make choices like that to make sure you get to your quarterly sales goals. Is what it is. Welcome to capitalism. Currently inside of TCU's stadium. So that means you're in Fort Worth, Helwick. TCU, is that the Armed Forces Bowl? What do they do in Fort Worth? Is that guy okay that was doing the parachuting before the game? He got caught on the side of the stadium and then plummeted down what looked to be 30, 40 feet. That didn't look great. Hopefully that guy's okay. Shaden says, I got to be at work in 15 minutes. What's the rundown? Shaden, you as always, I imagine, are looking for something tonight. And as we transitioned discussion to the NBA, this is as bad of a slate considering the injuries that I've seen in quite some time. No, let's go just run through this really quickly. Victor Wembanyama, out. Brooklyn Nets, Michael Porter Jr., Nick Claxton, Cam Thomas, out for personal, for injury management, and for illness. The Denver Nuggets, Jokic, obviously out. And now Valanciunas, out too. Atlanta Hawks, that line that's popping here on the screen right here. Trae Young, out. Madison Square Garden. Air comes out of the balloon. New Orleans Pelicans, Trey Murphy III, Derek Queen, Sadiq Bey, the three guys who have been the cornerstone of this team, the only reason why they remain somewhat relevant, all out. Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis actually had to be upgraded because he was going to be out with injury management, and then they lost to the Washington Wizards over the weekend. Can't be losing to the Wizards and Hornets if you want to be taken seriously. Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, obviously, and Jimmy Butler, out. They're on the second leg. They're going to be on the first leg of a back-to-back tomorrow at home against the Utah Jazz. And they decide to punt tonight against the Thunder. We'll just come back tomorrow. We'll split this game. It's OKC. We'll probably lose anyway. This is a great spot for us to get right, take the night off. However, this is the Amazon Prime marquee game of the night because the first one is between the Nuggets and the Cavaliers, a 14-point spread here at ProfitX without half of the city of Denver available for this one. But back to the Thunder and Warriors. Those three out. Now, Steph and Jimmy are being considered out with, I think, ankle and illness. And it's very important, people, what is inside of the parentheses when a player is out, because this is a nationally televised game on Prime Video. And the NBA has shown us they will issue a player participation policy violation if you keep stars. I'm putting stars in quotes because there is a definition for stars. If you have made an all-star team, finished all NBA in the past couple of years, you are considered a star. And if stars are not made available for nationally televised games, you will be punished. However, when you have an ankle injury, when you have an illness, the NBA cannot accuse you of load managing these games. Draymond is out due to rest. Draymond does not qualify as a star, so they can tell the truth on that one. But fact remains, the Warriors are punting this game. Steph Curry is not playing, and this will be a horrendous product to put on national television once again. We had this conversation ad nauseum throughout the entirety of our SiriusXM show earlier today. And this is one of the biggest problems with the league, whether they're injured or not. It just doesn't matter. We get fans who called in. This woman from this Knicks game, by the way, right here. This Knicks game, Karl Anthony Towns has been he's questionable now as so if Karl Anthony Towns is out, if you're looking for action tonight, we're going back to the well. It's going to be OG Anunoby's rebounds, 5.5 if you can get it, 6.5. This is the one we've been hitting all week with Mitchell Robinson out. OG Anunoby over on rebounds, and just hope that Karl Anthony Towns does not play if you take that wager, because he's, as you can see here, at 12.5 rebounds at the bottom of your screen. There's your action play for the night if you're interested. However, we had a mom call in from New Jersey, and she says once per year, I take my family to Madison Square Garden to watch the Knicks. She's a Knicks fan, so is the family. She says she can afford to take them only once per year because it's a family of 4 going to a somewhat decent Knicks game. She said the tickets, the commute, everything totals to around $1,000. That's a lot of money. And she's like, if you told me that I would be paying that price for Jalen Brunson not to be playing, I'm just creating a hypothetical here. Or I guess the collective conversation was good news for the Nuggets, by the way. Jamal Murray was just ruled in for this game, the other nationally televised game on Prime Video. $1,000 to watch the New York Knicks play without Jalen Brunson would just be I will never give you a second chance type of. And how are sports fans, not the sickos that are watching this stream or that are in the grind of keeping up with all of the news and availability that occurs between, let's say, now in tip-off, how are you supposed to make a decision on, I'm going to get my family together, we're going to drive to the arena, we're going to buy tickets and go tonight, when I have to wait until the morning before or the afternoon before to see if my kid's favorite player is actually going to be playing or not? Because if they're not, they're going to be disappointed, and I'm also going to be out a shit ton of money. That's what most fans are having to deal with. I mean, I'm watching regardless. I'm sure a lot of you are watching regardless, but think of the paying customer and the optimal experience, which they are deprived of, usually to their lack of knowledge. Like, they're not made aware until they don't see the player on the floor or he's wearing street clothes. Then they got upset kids, they got upset friends, spent a lot of money on this. This happens so often. And a lot of these people, they may end up bitching about it or complaining, but some don't. Some just take their money and they go somewhere else. I am not coming back to that because they are a disgruntled customer, and I never want to think about this again. Now, does that mean the NBA has to decrease the amount of games to make sure the stars are always available? We're going to be chasing our own tails with this conversation. But tonight's slate is another example of 10 games where almost every single one of them will not have someone on the floor due to injury or voluntarily not be putting them on the floor. The Utah Jazz last night told us that Keontae George and Lauri Markkanen were not going to be playing against the Clippers for whatever the reasons were that were listed. Those two have been killing recently. Keontae George is going to be in the conversation not only for the All-Star team, but for most improved player. And he has a ton of momentum from his recent performances. But something tells me he doesn't have the pull of a Steph Curry, that if the training staff says, we want to keep you out tonight, Steph says, no, I'm playing. Like, the Warriors are going to say, okay, we'll let you play. Keontae George does not have that same type of leverage. So to see, like, what I imagine happens is the coaching staff, the front office, the training staff, they come together, and this would be a good spot to rest Keontae George. And it's always on either the first or second leg of a back-to-back, right? But the Jazz are going to have a full day off in between. They did have a full day off, at least a full day off in between. He ends up not playing. The Jazz get dusted. We know there's a dark cloud of a pick protection hovering over the franchise's head, that they need to lose games to once again hold on to their pick. and it just creates it wrecks his momentum. He probably wants to keep playing because I have a chance at an accolade, which is really important and something I'd be very proud of achieving. Maybe he even acquiesced to their advice, saying, you know what, we suggest you should take the night off. Okay, I could use a night off. It's just that kind of stuff, man, that's contagious across the league. And I don't think it's anyone's fault in particular, but as we always like to say, if it's nobody's fault, it's everyone's fault. And there's a 10-game slate in the association tonight in which every single one of these games stinks in regards to what their potential would be if the rosters were full. Now, there may end up being good basketball played and results that go to overtime. This game actually ended up being intense, but a lot of people don't care about that. This is a business built around star power. The same way WrestleMania features Stone Cold and The Rock. They don't send out like two up-and-coming wrestlers that nobody recognizes, even though the match was good. Like, oh, they're really, really good at some of these moves. You would feel let down if you were told it's going to be The Rock versus Stone Cold, and you were given ECU wrestlers or something, or ECW wrestlers, ECU wrestlers too from college. Anyway, hey, Andrew in the chat, I see you. How did your New Year's Eve Uber driving go? Were you able to make some good money? Because it was shitty weather. I was standing outside in the rain watching fireworks. It was shitty weather, and I'm sure people were still partying, which means Uber surge pricing is through the roof. That's good for you as a driver. Atlanta Hawks money line tonight, says Rondo. Well, the Hawks are going to certainly be dogs, but they do get up for these Knicks games. And if Cat is out, you're looking at plus 225 right now here at ProfitX. You can get the Hawks at pretty light vig, 225 if you're interested in the Hawks beating the Knicks without Trae Young tonight. Shay is asking if Golden State is going to get fined for sitting their stars on national television tonight. I will say no, because they have actual Sam Merrill, Dean Wade. Oh, here we go. Two more players out for a nationally televised game. Is that Sam Merrill out? Let me just make sure. Yep, Sam Merrill out, Dean Wade out for the Cavaliers. But the question was about the Warriors. And because they're being listed with illness and ankle, the two guys, Steph and Jimmy, who would qualify as NBA stars. I'm assuming Jimmy has made an all-star team within the frame. Let's just say that he is. Or he's made an all-NBA team in the past couple of years. Because they have actual injuries listed, I think that will prevent them from getting fined. Because if they went with load management, injury management, or rest, they would get fined. Amazon Prime game, you better have an injury. Otherwise, the NBA is going to come with their ruler. Wayne says, Wob, it's time to talk about Tomas Isalo. In what way? If there's any game tonight to actually like gather the kids around and watch, these here at the bottom of your screen, the Grizzlies are catching 4 points against the Lakers. And assuming Ja Morant plays, these two teams always have a little extra spice. And considering there's a lot of pointing and blaming going around Los Angeles right now with the Lakers, a team that's 20-11, if I'm not mistaken, 9 games over 500, and yet the world is crumbling because anytime they play a good team, they get embarrassed defensively. Embarrassed. And everyone's like, man, Luka's a great player, but he sure doesn't know how to play defense. And it starts that conversation up. But usually teams can hide a bad defender pretty easily. But when everyone's a bad defender like the Lakers have, then it changes the equation a bit. Slim Shay says, my dad drove my brother and cousin from Maine to DC. That's a long way. Maine to DC for a Wizards preseason game to see Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan did not suit up. That was nearly 25 years ago. How many times I get people, how many people I get in my DMs or calling into the show with the exact example of like, I gave this ticket to my kid for Christmas. I paid so much. So, do you guys know someone looked it up earlier on the program because I used Steph Curry's return to Charlotte over the weekend on New Year's Eve. That's the big homecoming game for Steph because he's from Charlotte. He went to school in Davidson. Someone said, get in prices for the Hornets game against Steph 9 times the average. 9x was the premium that you had to pay to get into that game. And if you watched, I don't blame you if you didn't because it was New Year's Eve and it was a matinee day game on the East Coast. So it was on at 10 a.m. here local time Pacific. So if you're a Warriors fan, you had to wake up before 10 o'clock. I'm not, last time I've been up before 10 o'clock. You had to get up before 10 o'clock to watch this game. The entire arena was blue and yellow, and it was not turquoise and gold like those terrible City Edition uniforms that the Hornets wear. It was royal blue and gold, which is the colors of Steph Curry's uniform, and all the kids were wearing them. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if that was somehow the game that Steph Curry did not show up to play in? That would have been the A block of like every, not just basketball, but sports show that Steph, here we go, resting in Charlotte. How many mad fans there would have been? Paid so much money for that. What a letdown. And it happens on such a lesser scale so often in the NBA. And to your point in the chat, Danny says it's good for gambling and good for making money because there is roster versatility or volatility, not versatility, volatility. You're correct. Nothing better than for closing line value or prop bets when you can get that line as soon as that news drops. Nothing better. But while it's good for gamblers, it's not good for the NBA business who's trying to attract as many eyeballs as humanly possible. Haji in the chat, what's up? Hope you're doing fine, as well as asking if Giannis is playing tonight. He was upgraded, which is a good sign. I don't think it's official. I'm watching the news wire right now, and it's not official if he is in the lineup just yet, but I would assume he will be. We've seen some shenanigans with him in the past, so you may just want to confirm that before pulling the trigger on anything. But Giannis is expected. I don't think he would have played if they held on against the Wizards. Like, we can beat the Hornets and continue our light schedule as we're trying to resuscitate our season. Wayne Train says, did you watch their most recent game? I think you're talking about but you say his rotations are some of the worst in the league. Post-game, when asked why Cam Spencer wasn't on the court, he said, quote, we had our best three-point shooters on the court, which is undeniably false. So you're talking about the Warriors, I think. Or no, oh, you're talking about the Grizzlies. Sorry. Which Spencer? Do you have Cam Spencer or Pat Spencer? And Pat Spencer's on the Warriors, right? Sorry, these guys, those two look too much alike. Would I trade Zubats? No. Why would I trade Zubats? Because, I mean, Brook Lopez, his contract is there for like 1 year, and he's old. Zubats is the foundation of the front court. Cam is on the Grizz. Pat's on the Warriors. Okay. Well, okay. So complaints about Isalo's rotations. I mean, he's been doing this all year where he does the burst lineups where he runs guys for like 3-4 minutes and then he sends in another 5. And then he starts staggering after that. I mean, this is the original frustration with John Morant, that all these guys are being taken off the floor after just short bursts. They don't want that. They want to be able to run like an entire quarter and then take an extended rest. Usually, traditionally, at the end of the first quarter or into the beginning of the second, it's usually like let's call it the 2 to 3 minute mark in the first through the 9 to 6 minute mark in the second is when starters get their rest. Is the wrist brace a bit at this point for Rob? What are you talking about? I need this the same way. Like Wolverine has his claws, Rip Hamilton has his mask. Do you not wear a wrist brace? It's part of me. It's part of my body. Given up for you. Clippers are on a roll since Zoo went down. The Clippers are doing us all a favor because if they win games, that means OKC's pick gets worse and worse. Kawhi Leonard has been arguably the best version of himself since. I mean, he's had some pretty like eye-popping stretches with the Clippers, and he's performed well in the playoffs when available. This is up there. That dude is just bucket after bucket right now. Career high 55, franchise high. I think he had 45 something last night. And it's all ethical hoops too. It's all just like mid-range J after mid-range J, creating with his dribble, like down in the block, down in the post, fade away, splash, 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 splash. Thank you. Yes. Bob's version of Rip Hamilton's face mask. Thank you. You get the show. Is John Collins going to come back to his Utah form? Asks Alex. What's up, Alex? Seems to have picked up the last 2 weeks. Would you have considered John Collins's brief tenure with the Clippers to be a disappointment? That's, I guess, everyone on the Clippers disappointment. But you thought with Derrick Jones Jr. going down before recently returning, like, okay, John Collins, go in there and save the day. That's why we got you. I don't think that happened. James Harden didn't even play in the fourth quarter last night, if I'm not mistaken. It was just the Kawhi show. Kawhi's put this team on his back, man. He is, when he's in these type of modes, I don't know who the hell has the size to be able to guard him. Kawhi is so fucking physical. Yeah, it is. Someone in the chat said Kawhi's peak is up there with the all-time greats. The problem is the peak is just so short of time compared to all the others. But I would say the quality of the peak is worthy. The quantity, obviously not. Oh, and he's in these modes, and he's just as good defensively, by the way. When he's in these modes where they just clear out the floor for him, and it doesn't matter what you do. You send a double team, he'll fade to his weak hand and just drill a mid-range shot. Clippers are one of the slowest paced teams in the NBA. They are more than content with playing rock fight basketball. In the half court, you're going to get a lot more isolation sets. We know that the surrounding cast and characters around Kawhi have been banged up for most of the season, and he has just said in this past, 6 games that they've won in a row. It hasn't even been close to anyone being worthy to stop him. Appreciate you hanging out, Wayne. Good luck to your Grizzlies tonight as we get a little Grizzlies-Lakers resurrection of that once brief rivalry. It's not the same without Dillon Brooks there. Still kind of counts, though. John Morant holding it down. Kawhi has shot Shea, so I was keeping an eye on this for a while until he missed a free throw he was 13 of 13 before he missed, I think, number 14. He was on a streak of free throws that was starting to get like, should I be checking what the NBA record is? He has shot 142 free throws this season and has missed only 6. He is at a 95.8% from the free throw line. If it was that easy, everyone would be doing it. Even Rondo says, even against considered really good perimeter defenders, Amen, Asar, Eason, he just makes it look so easy. When he's in this mode, people, this is the Raptors mode, where he was consensus best player, two-way player in the world for about 3 months. That didn't last much longer, but for 3 months, Kawhi Leonard was the best two-way basketball player in the world. And I found it interesting because on today's SiriusXM show, I asked my partner, Antonio Daniels, who obviously spent 13 years in the NBA, won a championship, all the above. I asked him to assign equity percentages of a pie chart to offense and defense in regards to importance. How much equity do you put in offense and defense? And I proposed a starting number of 75-25, offense versus defense. And he thought even 25 was too high for defense. That is because of the way that physicality is enforced in today's game. That suggests to me, this maybe even explains why so many players don't play with the inspiration of want to on defense. And I think Luka's at the top of that list with LeBron. It's not if they can play defense, it's if they want to play defense. The want to. Why would I bust my ass playing defense when I get ruled for a foul because I nicked a hand when I went by with a fingernail? The high five rule, the landing zone. You make it so difficult to play defense. I'm just going to put my hand up and hope this guy misses. What else am I supposed to do? I hear that. But to hear a number that drastic, that this is just such an offensively incentivized league, I think has created an imbalance and, in a way, diluted spectacular offensive performances because of the apathy that is displayed on defense. If the Lakers lose again tonight to a Grizzlies team that they should beat, they're favored by what? 4. Lakers favored by 4 here on Profit X. Not a lot, but still favored. We're going to need to have a conversation, man. And Luka's not going anywhere. We know it's LeBron because of the contract situation. Like, this team is structured on paper to play offense and get destroyed on defense. And even then, you would say, like, well, that's Rob Pelinka's fault for not putting together a team worthy of the championship conversation. Man, he took the mid-level exception and he somehow turned that into Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia. That is not a lot of money. And they just did not have the optionality of Oklahoma City, Brooklyn, San Antonio, even in a way Houston, to make a major transaction. I struggle to blame the front office, especially when this is by design this season, to just ride it out, and then everybody comes off the books. Luka will be able to pick his team starting next season. Go out and get this guy. Lakers have cap space to do that. Go out there and re-sign this guy. We can do that for you as well. Luka and Bill Duffy, his agent, will practically become the de facto general manager of that team. But not yet. And as long as LeBron is there making all of that money, they have no flexibility whatsoever. Zero. Can even show you Los Angeles Lakers salaries. Take a look at this real quick. LeBron James making $52.6 million. Luka, obviously, extension. But do you see the second column right here under 26-27? If it's blue, that means there's a player option. Austin Reeves is going to opt out and sign an extension, but you have DeAndre Ayton, you have Marcus Smart, guys that feel like they're probably going to opt out because I can get a longer deal somewhere else. The only players on the books next year are Luka, I will assume Austin, Jared Vanderbilt, Jake LaRavia, Dalton Connect, Bronny James, Adu Tierra, or however you pronounce that. That's it. Go out and get whoever you need. Do I think they'll keep AR around? Yeah. They're not making that mistake. They learned the hard way with Caruso. They can't let that white guy go. They already did that with Caruso. No, they're completely different players. I know I make a joke based on those players' skin colors, but they're completely different. But yeah, Austin Reeves, homegrown, fan favorite. LeBron is going to be moving on. Austin is at his best when he's on the ball. And right now, there's one ball for three players that have high usage: Luka, LeBron, and Reeves. So there's a reason why sometimes this looks like the Phoenix Suns version of Durant, Booker, and Bradley Beal, because high usage guys better have some seriously good chemistry if they're not going to have the ball in their hands majority of the time, or what they're accustomed to. What's up, Coach Mike? Have a great weekend. What's on tap? I'll be watching games tonight because the Knicks are playing, and Lakers Grizzlies should be someone in there. It's pouring here in LA. It's been pouring all week. It's been shitty weather, so I'm not very inspired to go out and get into shenanigans. I also had a very long New Year's Eve. I was up all night, didn't sleep a wink. Then I went to the Rose Bowl the following day. So I slept 9 hours last night. But this is the type of weather that it inspires me to sleep in. As I get older, I will say getting into bed a little early and then pulling up because the way my bedroom is structured, I have my bed not exactly in the corner, but I do this for a reason, because I put a cupboard, some shelves in front of it, and it's the perfect little window that I can place my iPad at the angle of which I sleep. So it's just very comfortable. And I turn on the news, I'll watch a television show, but the earlier I go to bed, the more I can watch on the iPad. And there's no better feeling than just naturally going to sleep for 8-9 hours. The next day is so much easier. And as you get older, you desire to do that more and more. Because when you get older, you don't have friends, you don't have 20 friends going out to the bar like when you're 23, because you finished work on a Friday at 5 p.m. and everyone's getting nuts. They don't have kids, they don't have families yet. Everyone's just out partying and having a good time. Now at the age of 38, most of my friends and whatnot got something else going on. So I just don't feel the same FOMO that I may have when I was younger. Hornets history. What's up? Says high usage necessity for players is a thing Charlotte is going to run into quickly and has already a bit. With Melo, Brandon Miller, and Con Canupo. That's why Melo being a passer primarily and cutting down on usage is so important for this team to work long term. I like that take, Hornets history. Now, Con Canupo is getting up a lot of shots, but this may work for him in particular, because when you're that proficient as in a three-point shooter, you can do a lot more catch and shooting. He may be great off the dribble. He may be talented enough, but he doesn't need to be initiating offense the same way that, let's say, LaMelo Ball does. Now, LaMelo he catches some flack because of how many times he does his little dancing into a 35-foot step back. He makes a lot of those, man. But I hear you in that there should be a little bit of a healthy balance in regards to the times he chooses to do that versus, you know what, I'm going to dribble penetrate with the intention to get someone else open so that Brandon Miller can touch leather, Con Knuppel can touch leather. I feel like the best guards in the world, or at least in the NBA, they are masters of choosing the right item from the menu. Every possession, there's a new menu. Do you want to shoot? Do you want to pass? Do you want to stop your dribble, pump fake, and try and get to the free throw line? And the point gods throughout time seem to choose the chef special more than others. And for LaMelo Ball to be considered a true offensive player as opposed to just a very good scorer, because that's a completely different, you can be a great scorer without being a good offensive player. I think more balance in this. Oh, we got an official word. Giannis Antetokounmpo in for the Bucks tonight. Long story short, on the Hornets, I think there could be some different mixture of ingredients to produce this potion that I think all the fans there can see, but hasn't been actually executed yet. Does that make sense? Hornet says LaMelo frankly hasn't gotten enough credit for how good Con has been. He makes him better. I can hear that because Cade Cunningham makes his teammates better. The step backs and all have to go, especially in crunch time. But he's finally done it enough in losses that you can see he's slowly learning that he can't make decisions and doesn't have to anymore. He's unlearning a lot. With experience, I mean, with time comes experience. And I would think LaMelo Ball has been around long enough to identify those spots where he should be selfish, those spots where he should defer. But the Hornets aren't winning games, and ultimately he's going to be blamed for a lot of the reason why, whether it's fair or not. What else you guys got? Got about 5 to 10 minutes more. Hanging out on a Friday, January 2nd. Those of you just joining the show. As she says, as I'm getting older, I keep waking up halfway through the night, 3 a.m., so I can watch the NBA. That must mean you are in 3 a.m. must mean you are in Central or Western Europe. I've told this story a couple of times, man. I do not know how you guys do it. France, Portugal, Spain, all the above. Their NBA slates tip off at 1 a.m. and they end around 7:30 a.m. So when I was over there for the Paris games, having to work throughout the day, 9 to 5, standard schedule. Like, wait a second. I have to also watch games too. So forcing myself to go to sleep at 6 p.m., if I was lucky, I would fall asleep. Your whole body clock is mangled. I would force myself to go to sleep at 6. And because your body's not used to it, you maybe get 2 to 3 hours, right? Because that's the duration of a standard nap. And then you wake up wide awake. Your body's going to think a little bit later it's time for a normal sleep. When you get to the 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and it's darkness outside. I don't know how y'all do it. That is the main explanation as to why, if any, the viewership in Western Europe is not desired. It has nothing to do with the product as much as I bitch about some of these other things. It's that it's on it between 1 and 7 o'clock in the morning. And Haji says he's in the Middle East, which also makes sense. So you're GMT plus, you're probably 4 hours ahead of France and whatnot. That means that means games start for you at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Serbia, it's usually 3 a.m. if I'm not mistaken. Hey, pet you eel. I don't control when people decide to get into a police chase. But when it's raining outside, like it's been, helicopters cannot fly because it's dangerous. So it's been shitty weather for a long time, and the helicopters are grounded. So if there is a chase, it has to go on forever for it to actually make television. And that has simply not happened in quite some time. Rondo says, I went through high school here in Germany, getting up for Warriors Cavs at finals games at 4 a.m. Oh, can you pick a worse time? I mean, I guess someone somewhere in the world is going to be screwed over by NBA timing. But even in somewhere like Japan, that it's technically 8 hours behind West Coast United States. That means if there was a 6 p.m. Pacific tip-off, it's going to tip off at 10 a.m. Tokyo time. That's sure as hell a lot better than 4 a.m. I admire, man. I love having these conversations, and the All-Star game is here in Los Angeles this year. One of my favorite things to do is just walk around Media Day because I'm able to either meet or converse with media from around the world. You see all the people that you're friends with here in the United States, but credentials are handed out to whatever the Polish sports network is. And they come to Los Angeles because they have access, and maybe their news network at home is funding their venture. And being able to talk with them about how different like coverage is there of the sport. I was just in Argentina, and because it's such a basketball friendly country, there's so many people there that view the product through a different lens. And I've learned now, once again, at this age, that one thing I really appreciate is different perspectives. I don't even care like when people argue about politics and whatnot, whether I agree with you. I just want to hear your explanation as to like why certain things happen or you think a certain way. And to see how the rest of the world consumes the NBA is completely different than just here in the United States. Hornet says, thank you for your insight, Wob. 2021 draft selecting James Bouknight and Kai Jones set Charlotte back some time with LaMelo. You win 43 games and have possibly the worst draft of the MJ era, which is saying something. That includes Adam Morrison draft as well. That includes Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. That includes... Gosh, who else did those Charlotte Hornets draft all those years? Cody Zeller? Did you guys draft Cody Zeller? Couple minutes left. Last call. If I could flash lights like you're at the bar. Last call, last call, last call. Chinsa, I forgot about that guy. He played at New Orleans for a little bit. Stoney says, how long will it take before Bill Kennedy can ref playoff games? He does. I thought he's a vet official. I'm sure he does plenty of them, unless I'm mistaken. By the way, I just tweeted this out before the show started, so forgive me for repeating myself, but we're at the point now with Billy Kennedy that his review verdict performances are so beloved. If you watch any broadcast, any NBA broadcast with a local regional sports network, and Billy Kennedy is officiating that game, when they go to a commercial because they're going to the referees are going to the monitor, they will be like, you got to stick around. You're going to get the Bill Kennedy performance when we come back. Like they really sell and hype this up. And then you always hear the announcers laughing. And I've spent enough time on the internet to know when people collectively enjoy something, the chronically online are going to look to poo-poo it, to tear it down and destroy it. And it's at the point now where Billy Kennedy is going viral every single time for his his moments in front of the camera when he's saying if the coach's challenge was successful or not, that it's time to take him from the wild, put him into a protective sanctuary so that the Chronically Online can't poach him. It's coming. That day is coming. And you only care about this kind of stuff if you're on social media often, but considering you're watching a stream right now on Twitter, I would assume you're one of those people too. Cody was a solid player, says CCPOV. Kaminsky was worth a draft. God, Kaminsky too? The Hornets drafted Kaminsky? Phoenix didn't draft Kaminsky, right? Morrison, Kaminsky, Zeller, Kid Gilchrist. Oh. Question in the chat. Which country that you visited last year had the finest women per capita? Most countries are gorgeous, but I would say Portugal. Denmark. Portugal, Denmark would be my top two. Those jump off the page to me. Colombia, yeah, I mean, Portugal, Denmark. No, it's not that this is a good time to carjack someone. It's just that there's going to be no media helicopters to follow you after you carjack someone. There's still police on the ground in the rain. Noah Vonleh. Oh! Noah Vonleh, he went to Indiana, right? He was good there. How many Hornets picks did they miss on? LaMelo's probably the best. LaMelo, Kemba. They've had a couple, but you're right. A majority have been letdowns. My friends, it is 4:11 p.m. Pacific time. That means we are tipping off our early slate of games. This is traditionally when we say goodbye. We usually like to also to hang around for this hour in case any major closing line value comes in for us to take advantage of here at ProfitX. And I would certainly hope and encourage, if sports investing is something that you're interested in, our partners here at ProfitX have a very willing and able site, and I enjoy working with them. So hopefully you guys choose them as your outlet for said needs. But I'll be back on Monday, now that we're back in the grind of the normal schedule, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, roughly an hour before tip-offs. But we don't have weird holiday work scheduling and game scheduling to be concerned about. So GG's in the chat. If you guys wouldn't mind hitting a retweet button or a like or something on the way out, that helps as always. But until then, wob out. See you on the timeline.